A few days ago, I asked you what the best car is for under $50,000, and 57% of you agree with me. It's the C7 Corvette. So yesterday, I went to pick up this car thinking to myself, it can't be that good. I mean, we just got done reviewing the C7 Z06. This is gonna be a disappointment. No, it is so much better than you think. In fact, it might be better than the Z06 for road conditions because it doesn't have a 650 horsepower engine. It's still borderline too fast. Of course, this is a Corvette, so we get the honor of opening up the hood like this. Big flex at a car show. Under here is a 6.2 liter naturally aspirated V8. This thing makes 455 horsepower and 460 pound-feet of torque. Now, the Z06 takes this engine and slaps a supercharger on it, but do not discount how well this thing performs. I'll show you why in a second. A big reason as to why I say that is because this car weighs under 3,300 pounds. That is super, super lightweight. That allows this car to do 0 to 60 in 3.9 seconds and the quarter mile in 12.2 seconds. Those are crazy numbers for being a stock car that's less than $50,000. So if you're wondering what 455 horsepower in a 3,300 pound car feels like, let me show you. Absolutely insane. Now, it's not just the performance that makes everyone love C7 Corvettes. It's the fact that these cars are absolute neck breakers. Just look at the front end of this thing. Now, if you did watch the C7 Z06 video, you're gonna notice a lot of differences that make this look a little bit more on the plain side, but plain is no word to use for this car. First of all, on this hood, you get a massive blacked out heat extractor. I love that in the front end of Corvettes. And the C8 Corvette no longer has that because the engine's in the back, but this really adds to the design of the front end of this car. Also, you're gonna have a Corvette logo in the front, which is big, bold, easy to see, and holds a lot of value because when you see that, you're gonna lose a race. Also, these headlights, same thing with the Z06, no difference between them. They just look so clean to me. I think it really completes the front end design. They have a nice angle, and just the overall outline of the headlight itself, I think looks so good to me. Also, in the front, you're gonna have a one-level grille setup, and you're gonna have a little additional side intake right here on both sides to let air flow through there. And because this is a C7 Stingray, you're not gonna have a splitter running across the car. This white thing kind of looks like a splitter, but if you watch the C7 Z06 video, you're gonna see a little additional splitter in the front there. And not to mention, this thing actually has a reasonable amount of ground clearance. The C7 Z06 kind of scared me, but this one, it's not that big of a deal for going over a small bump. Now let's check out the side of the C7 Stingray. And first I want to say, Ossifer, if you're listening to this, these are not illegally tinted windows, I promise. Your wheels up here are going to be 19 inches and your tire widths are going to be 245. Pretty skinny compared to the C7 Z06, but again, these Corvettes have the power going to the rear, so I'll touch on that in a second. Also, you're going to have some pretty decently sized 4-piston brakes. They look good when they're blacked out on this thing. I love the white and black. You can't go wrong with that. And they perform really, really well. On the side here, you're also going to have, well, what would be a Stingray badge, but the owner of this car decided to do a badge delete, maybe so you couldn't tell the difference between a Stingray or a Z06. It's okay though. It still looks clean. You're also going to have a blacked out vent. A lot of sports cars do this nowadays. Even the BMW Z4 in white kind of looks similar to the side of the Stingray. Just these vents really give it a sporty design. And of course, it is functional. In fact, every vent on this car is functional. One of my favorite things about C7 Corvettes. And check out the entire side profile of this car. For people that don't know cars, I feel like you could look at this and assume this is like $150,000, $200,000. Despite this now being a 10-year-old design, I think it's held up extremely well. And I love when the shadow hits this side piece here, it just makes it look all the more aggressive. Also, I really like the whole top half of the side profile here. First of all, your pillars are blacked out. Your roof is actually removable and you can store that in your trunk, so you don't have to sacrifice the looks of having this thing up with that weird looking soft top. I really like that. Also, your door handles are hidden, so it gives it a nice sleek look on the side here. If you stick your fingers in these caves, there's a button to push. You open this up and you can access your interior where you immediately hit 190 miles an hour. Also on the side here, you're gonna have an additional vent. I love how vented up these cars are, but if you watch the Z06 video, you'll notice that there's not a vent down here where there was in the Z06, well, because it's a Stingray. If you couldn't see from the last shot, the vent would have been right here on the Z06, which does spice up the side profile quite a bit. Moving along to the back of the C7 Stingray, your wheels here are gonna be 20 inches, which is 1 inch larger than the front. Your tire widths are gonna be 285, and by the way, if you step up to the Z06, your tire widths are 335. Whether you get the Stingray or the Z06, Z06. These are some pretty meaty tires back here, but these things need it. Remember, it weighs 3,300 pounds and makes well over 400 horsepower. So the fatter the tire, the better. And your brakes back here are also going to be 4-piston brakes, so this thing can stop very well. Now let's check out the back end of the C7 Stingray. And of course, I had to point it in the direction of the sun. That's the only way I can do it justice. You're going to have a spoiler on this one, which thank gosh, I do not really like the look of C7 Corvettes without a spoiler. I just feel like the back end is incomplete. This is a pretty small one and it's white to match the car, but still I think it really completes the design here. You'll also notice that these taillights are smoked out. I do like that because of the tinted windows and the sort of black accent theme going on here. I feel like if the wheels were blacked out, that would really make it look cool, but still I think this is nice. Also in the back end here, you're gonna have a large Corvette logo, and it is pretty plain back here. I mean, there's not a lot separating from the top to the bottom, but you are gonna have 2 more additional functional vents right on the side here. They're so tiny, but again, just a very nice subtle touch you won't notice unless you look close. Another big one down here that's pretty hard to miss. And as always, I say this every time, my favorite part about C7 Corvettes are the center place quad tip exhausts. And this one has an aftermarket exhaust, and listen to how good it sounds. I also want to say that even the top portion of this car has such a cool design. It's super, super curvy. And by the way, the trunk on this car is very unique and interesting. If you push the button, you open it here. And there's actually a lot of space. So if you want to daily drive this thing, you can do that. Let's go ahead and check out how absolutely awesome this interior is. I've never really been a big fan of the door panel designs. I think it's just kind of plain and simple for being a Corvette, but it still looks okay. You do get a button here that you can push in order to open up your door. There's no door handle, which is interesting. If this ever stops working, there is an emergency latch that you can pull. I one time saw some guy who got stuck in his Corvette when this thing, the electronics broke here, and he called the cops because he didn't know about that latch. Embarrassing. Anyway, you get Corvette right on your door sill. I do really like these seats. They're red, they're leather. The Z06 seats are a bit more sporty because they're bucket seats. You get carbon fiber and a competition badge on them, but still, these look really good and they're very comfortable to sit in. Let's go and sit in it. So, steering wheel. I love, love, love the feel of this. It's fully leather. It's held up extremely well. There's no wear and tear on this at all. And it has right around, 69,000 miles on it. So I'm very impressed with the quality of this car. Corvette logo here, no Z06 badge, of course, because this is not a Z06, but I love the plain, simple design. You have all your necessary controls on here as well. You can switch your songs and you can turn up or down the volume here. I've never seen a car do it like that on the steering wheel. So takes some getting used to, but I think it's very convenient, cool design. Gauge cluster in here, very nice. You have the digital one right in the center and then your analog ones on the left and the right. So using this drive mode selector here, you're able to actually switch between drive modes, and that will configure your exhaust if you want your valves open or closed, depending on how loud you want it. It'll also configure the look of your RPM gauge in the center. I really, really like that. Of course, weather, economy, and tour mode are the ones that you're gonna rarely be in. I'm always gonna be in sport and track. Also, that's going to tighten up your steering wheel and open up those exhaust valves and change that display. Now, this one has the 7-speed manual transmission. We just got done with the 7-speed in the Z06, so oh man, I was not expecting much from this thing, but wow, does it perform great. This is still a phenomenal car. You don't need more than 455 horsepower in a 3,300 pound car. It's ridiculous to ask for more than that. This thing feels great. It gets better the more you use it. Once it starts warming up, let's run through some gears here. It's pretty much just as tight as in the Z06, so I really like the feel of this. You got to commit to putting it in the gear, and I think that just makes it feel all the more sporty. Very, very nice. What is very interesting is that there's 7-speed manuals. Have you ever heard of a car that has a 7-speed manual? I only hear of 5 and 6, so this makes this one very, very unique. And with the C8 Corvette no longer ever being in manual, that's not even an option. That makes the C7s so appealing to me because the manual still exists, and these things are for sure going away, especially with electric cars coming. You get a Corvette Stingray badge right here. Pretty plain center console, definitely a lot of plastic, but that's okay for me. I mean, yeah, it's not the highest of quality. I'm not gonna be sitting here opening and closing the cup holders. I'm gonna be sitting here shifting through gears and listening to the absolutely insane exhaust note that this makes. So I'm not gonna complain about this interior. You do get a decent amount of storage space in here, and this thing is leather on the top, which is very, very nice. Really, the big storage space is gonna be in the back, which is very surprising to see for a Corvette. I like how much space you get back there. Infotainment system is all right. The only really cool thing worth mentioning is that if you go to the home page, let's do that real quick, you can click settings, and you're able to do valet mode if you want to, but if you select driving mode, you can configure your engine sound management and your steering. But that is doable through this drive mode selector, so I'd rather just get quick access through that rather than finding it in the infotainment system. Of course, you're gonna get your climate controls. This one does not have the heated and cooled seats. The dash on the passenger side is very plain. In fact, the passenger is very left out in this car because everything is pointed at us, which is good if you're driving it. If this did have heated seats, you would have the heated seat option over there. And other than that, guys, I mean, this is a phenomenal car for the deal. It's such a driver's car, and the fact that this is accessible for under 50K makes me so happy. Let me know what you guys think about this and if you would buy it, and if you could think of another car that's better for under $50,000, let me know because I cannot think of one. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!